Back to ZDK and State Insurance Morning Cup, and I have my guest at last, which is I'm very, very pleased and happy about. Joanne Hillhouse. Good morning, Joanne.
Hi, good morning, Zoe.
Good morning. I'm so glad we got hold of you.
I am so sorry.
That's quite all right. I just really wanted to talk to you. It all comes better coming from you. And it's a long time since we spoke when I was on English Harbour Radio, so I'm really thrilled to have you back again.
And thanks for the invitation. I appreciate it.
Now, this Writing for Children workshop, I was talking about it obviously earlier on, and this is something that's close to your heart, isn't it? The literature for children.
Well, literature in general is my passion. My last few books, with Grace, Lost, The Caribbean Sea Adventure, and The Jungle Outside, have been children's books, and so I guess I've sort of been carving out a little niche for myself there. So what I can share, I look forward to sharing.
I must admit, I do love With Grace. It's such a beautiful book. And,
Thank you.
And mangoes come into it, don't they?
Well, mangoes seem to come into all of them except for Lost, because it's on the water. But, wherever I can sneak in a mango, I will.
Like that's, you're a woman after my own heart. I absolutely love mangoes. And one of the things I love on your website is a great picture of a mango eating competition with the children.
I was a huge fan of the Mango Festival, so yeah.
I do hope we'll get back to that again.
I hope we can get back to life at some point.
Oh gosh, yes, certainly do. Certainly do. Now, are you working on a project at the moment?
I always am. I freelance. I work independently as a writer, as you know, so I'm always working on something, whether it's an article for a client or planning my next workshop or working on my next book. I've been working on a short story collection for adults this time. Been getting back to more adult writing. That's been the major project. I also, during the pandemic year, worked on a adaptation of With Grace for the stage. I haven't done anything with it, but I've finished the script of that. So I'm working on a few things. Is my point. I always have something going.
I love that idea of With Grace on stage. That is that's a great idea. Have you written much in the way of plays?
I have not, but interestingly enough, one of my first affirmations as a writer in terms of maybe you could do something with this came from a playwriting competition. Way back when I was in Antigua State College, I used to write plays that would be performed at the college when I was a student there. And then Rick James Theatre, they had a playwriting competition that I submitted to, and I think I got second prize or something like that. And that was one of those early writing prizes that kind of, told me maybe, what you're doing and you could try a little thing.
That's exciting. I'd love to know more about playwriting competition.
I don't think they have it anymore. I think it was like a one-off back then, and I used to jump, but I still do. I jump at every opportunity to, get my writing out there, and that's something I always try to encourage people to do. Whether it's the Commonwealth Short Story Writing Competition, which is now open for submissions, or with Dadley Penn, which we do every year in the early part of the year. It's like whatever opportunity comes up, you want to write, you got to put your leg in dip your toe in the water. So that's what I try to do.
And you've won a lot of awards, haven't you? You won an award last year as well.
Not by a long shot, no. The biggest one for me probably was being a finalist for the Burt Award, because that made Musical Youth happen.
Right.
Musical Youth is my teen young adult novel. That was a manuscript that I submitted for the Burt Award for teen young adult Caribbean literature, and part of the prize was that book getting published. But no, I haven't won a ton. I've been shortlisted and longlisted. Like this past year, I was longlisted for the Brooklyn Caribbean Short Story Prize. I was longlisted last year as well. So, but no, winning it, I haven't done as yet. So I'm always feeling motivated to try again because winning isn't guaranteed. But I've been fortunate to get a few things. When I won the Leonard Tim Hector Memorial Prize, that was unexpected. When I last year, it feels like years ago now, but last year when I was selected for the Women of Wadadley Literature Prize, that felt pretty good. But it's not by a long shot. I have a lot of goals still.
Yes, well, you have to have goals to keep going. I'm very much pleased with the Women of Wadadley Award for you last year. That was great. That was good to see there.
Thank you. It felt unexpected, and it was just delightful to be in that room, one of the last rooms I've been in, with all of those deserving women.
We have a lot of female writers, particularly around the Caribbean, don't we, that we don't seem to know about them so much, because one of the things that your Wadadley Pen website does is it brings these ladies, these writers, to the fore.
Well, yeah, I mean, we have a lot of talent around the region, period, and one of the things that I try to do with the Wadadley Youth Pen Prize is make it a database of all of this information, resources for writers. We have a bibliography of Caribbean writers on the site. We have bibliographies of Antiguan and Barbudan literature on the site. We have a huge amount of talent. And interestingly, I mean, for most of my lifetime, it was the male writers that were considered the classics of Caribbean literature. And you have a lot of women stepping into well, we were always there. We were just never given a marquee position. But you have a lot of women now claiming marquee positions in that space. So, yeah.
I mean, that is great to see. I do like having writers on the show, actually. I think it's great to hear from these people. I had Ronan Matthew on. I
just recently finished his book, Ruby's Dream.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He was on about 6 weeks or so ago. It was it's an interesting story, isn't it? It
is. And I suppose that's kind of a niche that, in terms of independent publishing in Antigua, going all the way back to Shoot Hard Labor, coming forward to Ruby's Dream, you have people kind of telling their sort of memoirs or their, if not strictly biographies, creative interpretations of their stories and so on. It's a way of kind of puzzling together our various national histories through these various sort of personal histories. Because part of what you're getting, by getting Ronan's stories, you're getting a little bit more of the history of Oval's community as well.
That was very interesting to see that, the story of the stories from here and then the stories of when he went to America. Yeah. The other one that's on my list I haven't got to yet is the one by Gail Gonsalves, My Stories Have No Endings.
I'm reading that. My Stories Have No Endings. Love that title, by the way.
It's a wonderful title, isn't it? I must admit, I'm going to try and get hold of her as well, see if she'll join me. It's on my pile of books I want to read next. So
too many books in too little time.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree with you more. Yeah. Joanne, would you please, I would be very pleased, could you read a little bit from one of your books for us this morning?
Okay, so this is totally unplanned because I didn't have time, so I'm just going to pick a section from The Jungle Outside, which is my latest picture book. It's with HarperCollins. And it's part of the Big Cat series. So I guess I'll just read a little bit from the beginning.
And this came out this year, didn't it?
This came out this year, yes. First in the UK, then the US, and throughout the world, yeah. I wish I grew up in the jungle so I could know how to climb trees, Dante said. Tanti turned from the dishes she'd been washing. Over the island that separated the kitchen from the living room, she spotted her grandson slumped on the living room couch looking like the unluckiest boy in the whole world. Larger than life on the TV, an animal clung to one tree limb while stretching towards another. A koala or sloth, she couldn't tell. They didn't have those in the Caribbean. There's a jungle outside, she said. No, there isn't, Dante replied. There's just the yard. Tanti wiped her hands on a dish towel and walked to the door. Really? She stepped outside. Dante ran after her. She waited for him at the edge of the veranda and stretched hand and eager grin. Ready? She asked. Dante knew it was just the yard, but he still found himself nodding along, a smile splitting his face. They stepped together, barefoot, into the yard. The grass was scratchy and uneven underfoot. He loved it. Tanti led him to the date palm tree. It was tall and its bark ridged, palm fronds spread wide like an open beach umbrella. Dante dreamt for a minute that he was at one of Antigua's 365 beaches where he could splash around in the shallow end of the water. When your daddy was little, Tanti said, he climbed this tree. Dante looked up. The tree was very, very tall. He'd seen men climbing coconut trees by gripping with their feet and knees and pulling themselves up with their upper body, Tanti said. My heart nearly jumped out of my chest when I saw him up there. His too, I think, when he realized that what goes up must come back down. She laughed. As you can see, the date palm bark isn't smooth like a coconut tree. Not so easy to slide back down. One day you must ask your daddy if the 2 dates he picked were worth all the scratches. So I'll pause there. That's a little bit of the jungle outside. And as you can see, it's about stepping away from your devices and exploring the wonders like we did when I was a kid. And seeing the beautiful, tasty things we have out in the world around us.
Oh, that was lovely. So I read earlier on. I read some of your poem about mangoes, and one of my listeners, Gabriella, said it's great that you encourage the children, and she said she could actually taste the mango when I read it out. So she's going to be picking up more of your work, she says. One of the things I wanted to ask you, you said that this latest book, The Jungle Outside, was published in the UK and the US. What sort of reception do books about the Caribbean receive in these countries? Are they popular?
Well, I can't speak generally. I think in the last, it's a big question, Zoe, but I think any book that's well written has a chance to find its reader, no matter where the reader is. My books have sold. I mean, my publishers, for the most part, have been international publishers, and the books are sold in these markets. I have a publisher in Canada who did the Dancing Nude in the Moonlight. Oh God was published in the U.S. at Simon & Schuster. Musical Youth and Lost are the two books I have with Caribbean publisher Caribbean Reads.
Yeah.
With Grace's Little Bell Caribbean, that's also Caribbean U.S. publisher. So I say that to say all these publishers bought the stories based on not just, I mean, I'm from a 108 square mile island. I don't have a brand name in that sense in the international marketplace, but so they buy it on the strength of the story and the potential for sales, and sometimes it does better than others, but there's none that haven't sold to someone out in that space. And yeah. I collect the reviews, and I use those to help me attract new readers, and the reviews are always, not always, I've gotten bad reviews as well, but I've also gotten some very good reviews, and I especially cherish the reviews from readers, because that tells me if the person who the book is intended for is seeing and relating to it. I mean, one of my most recent reviews for The Jungle Outside, in fact, I haven't seen a Caribbean review of The Jungle Outside. It's been by reviewers from the U.S. and the UK, so they're reading it, they're
Good.
liking it, and hopefully more people will discover it. It's a broad question. I don't know how to answer it, because you don't know, one, if people have access to the book in terms of the awareness of it, but when people do find the book, it's never that I can't relate to it. If the story is good and it's well told, then they will be able to access it. That's been my experience.
And I have to say, your books are so evocative of the Caribbean, of Antigua. They really, as Gabrielle said with the mango, she could taste it reading the words you'd written. And when you read the books, you really see yourself on the beach. You feel yourself, or singing to a mango tree. Joanne, thank you so very, very much for joining me this morning, and good luck with the workshop.
I just want to mention that the workshop is still accepting registration. It's being held by Bocas Lit Fest in Trinidad. It's this Saturday. You can go to the Bocas Lit Fest website to register.
That's great. Thank you very much. I gave out the details earlier as well, so I encourage young people to go for that. Joanne, thank you very, very much for joining me.
Thank you.